The story began with what should have been a routine trip home. A middle-aged man was on his way back, trying to make it in time for his daughter's birthday. One small accident pushed him off his familiar path. He had just dozed off on the train and woke up to an awkward situation. He quickly showed his ticket, explaining he hadn't meant to get on the wrong train, but he was still asked to get off. He had taken this route home countless times. Yet somehow, on this one day, he got it wrong. After passing through a tunnel, the train made an unscheduled stop at a small station. He had no choice but to get off, planning to wait for the next train back to Paris, but the scene in front of him caught him off guard. Surrounded by mountains, the station looked old, but peaceful. That's when he realized he had somehow returned to his hometown he hadn't visited in over 20 years. He glanced at his old watch, hesitated for a moment, then pulled his suitcase and walked toward the town. The place hadn't changed much, but it felt noticeably quieter. As he walked through the streets, he barely recognized anyone, until a mechanic at the corner stood up and called out his name. It took him a second to react. It was his old friend, Lucio. They walked and talked. From one end of the street to the other, the conversation felt easy. But when Lucio suggested grabbing a drink, he politely turned it down. The town felt smaller than he remembered. A walk that once felt long now ended in just a few steps, but he couldn't quite remember where his mother's grave was. Luckily, it was easy to spot, the simplest one in the cemetery. He crouched down and placed his hands on the headstone. Life hadn't been going well for him. His career had stalled, and his family relationships were strained. All of it weighed heavily on him. Just then, a butterfly landed near the grave. His eyes followed it, and suddenly, he felt dizzy and collapsed. He didn't know how long had passed. Before he woke up, he ran out of the cemetery, grabbed a random bicycle, and rushed toward the station. He was worried about missing the time, and even more about breaking his promise, but he didn't notice that something about him had changed until he passed through the town again, that he realized something was off. His body felt lighter, and his face looked younger. The town itself had come back to life. Even Lucio at the repair shop looked young again. He rushed back to his old house. His father stepped out just then and called him over to help. He followed him inside, and through the kitchen window, he saw his mother and his younger sister. Everything looked real. The posters on the wall, the items on the shelf, and even his father's watch were exactly as he remembered. After dinner, he picked up a newspaper, only to see the date June 12, 1967. That's when it hit him. He had gone back to the past. He remembered that June 5, 1967 was his father's 40th birthday. His father suddenly left without any explanation. That moment changed everything. His mother had to work nonstop, and eventually her health gave out. His own life was shaped by that loss. After waking up again, he tried to return to the present, but nothing worked. He had no choice but to keep living as a student. Classes still felt long, but many details felt familiar, like the sketchbook in his desk. The girl in his drawings was named Domenico, the school's most popular girl back then, and later his source of inspiration. In the past, he had never spoken to her, but this time, things were different. During class, his secret was accidentally exposed. He started acting more boldly, even talking back to the teacher. His friend told him to tone it down, but he instead told his friend to quit smoking. They argued and went their separate ways, but quickly made up. After school, they still hung out like before. With his life experience, he quickly became well known at school. He also caught Domenico's attention. After seeing his drawings, she didn't reject him. The next day after school, she waited for him and asked to walk home together. They talked the whole way about places around the world and future plans. He said he would become a comic artist someday. She didn't fully believe him, but before they parted, she gave him a light kiss. After that, they grew closer and closer. But this also started to create some distance between him and his friend. He slowly got used to this second life. One night, his sister woke up from a nightmare. He instinctively went to comfort her, but accidentally called out his daughter's name. That moment made him realize his real family was still waiting for him. He couldn't just walk away like his father did. Early the next morning, he rushed back to the place where he first woke up, hoping to return. The wind suddenly picked up, but nothing happened. He had no choice but to go back home. When he got back, he hugged his mother. She didn't blame him, and instead took him to the lake to relax. That's when he learned his father's birthday party had been postponed. On June 5th, his father never came home, and the whole family went out looking for him. so the celebration had to be canceled. His father found the unconscious Thomas near the cemetery. The doctor said he had fallen off a bike and hit his head. So memory issues were understandable. That reminded Thomas that something similar had happened when he was 14, but that part of his memory had always been unclear. But one question remained. Why did his father leave the family? If the timeline hadn't changed, then his father would leave this coming Sunday. The next day, Thomas took a week off from school, borrowed a small motorcycle from a friend, and started following his father. After a full day, he didn't notice anything unusual, just normal delivery work. The only thing he realized was how similar he and his father were, both quiet and reserved. Since daytime didn't help, he decided to try another approach and went to talk to his grandmother. She was happy to see him and told him about his father's past. While preparing food, his father lost his own dad at a young age and started working on a farm at 9 to support the family. Later, during World War II, he joined the resistance at 22 and helped save many lives with a friend. But after the war, he was the only one who came back, and he became much more silent. That friend's Fiona later became his mother. After hearing this, Thomas started to see his father differently, but the next morning, his father got a strange phone call and left in a hurry. Thomas followed him to a care facility where he saw his father hugging another woman. That scene made him think this woman might be the reason his father left. He went straight to a bar, but quickly passed out. When he woke up, his father was already there. First time he had seen him that angry. Later, Thomas tried asking questions, but his father avoided them. The next day, he returned to the care facility and met the woman directly. She recognized him and explained everything. She and his father had known each other since childhood. Just as friends, they lost contact after the war and only met again recently when she came there for treatment. His father had simply been taking care of her. After learning the truth, Thomas chose not to tell his mother. His father seemed to know he had been there, but didn't mention it. The next day, his father even invited him to go fishing in the mountains. It was a rare moment alone between them. Then came the key day, his father's birthday. If he could get through this day, maybe things would change. Everything seemed normal until dinner ended, but in a split second, his father was gone. Thomas rushed to the station. The train was about to leave. This was his last chance, but in the end, he still couldn't stop his father. The train pulled away. He finally understood everything. His father's departure wasn't a sudden decision, but the result of years of pressure, war trauma, emotional suppression, and lack of communication. And Thomas realized he had been repeating the same pattern. Poor communication with his family, a strained marriage, and growing distance from his daughter. This experience helped him see the root of it all. It also gave him a chance to reset his life. Sometimes we think our regrets come from the past, but what really traps us is the part of ourselves we never let go of. This second chance didn't change the ending, but it changed how he saw everything. If you had a moment to go back and fix something, would you try to change the past or learn to accept the present?